Hello everyone, I'm Cipher Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will explain the poem Daffodils by William Wordsworth. It is one of the most iconic and famous poems in the UK. So, what are you all waiting for? Let's begin. So, in this video, we'll discuss about the poet, about the poem, and the analysis of this poem. First, let's see who the poet is. This poem was written by William Wordsworth. He's an extremely famous nature and romantic poet. His poems are often influenced by the nature and the beauty of Lake District. Some of his famous works are Lyrical Ballads and The Prelude. Now let's discuss about the poem. This poem is based on William Wordsworth's walks in the Lake District, England, with his sister Dorothy. While he was wandering, he came across a large belt of daffodils, which was growing beside the lake. He was overwhelmed by the beauty of the daffodils and wrote a poem about it when he came back home. Some people also refer to this poem as I wandered lonely as a cloud. Now, let's see what this poem is all about and let me explain it. Now, let's see stanza 1. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Now, the poet was wandering in the mountainous Lake District. And here, wandering means to roam aimlessly. He compares himself to the solitary clouds that often float over the hills and valleys. Now, some things to note here is that solitary means a lone cloud, a single cloud. And you might notice two a bit different words here, over and vales. So over means over and vales means valleys. And this is because this poem was written in the early 18th century and it was in Old English. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Now, while he was walking, he came across a host or a crowd of daffodils. Now, here, crowd, a host of daffodils, this is a collective noun. Okay, you got to remember that. And these daffodils had a bright yellow color, similar to that of gold. Now, these daffodils were growing under the trees and beside the lake. So, this line describes their position. And they were fluttering and dancing with the breeze. That means they were swinging gently from side to side. And a breeze is a slow moving wind. Okay? And this verb here, fluttering, means to move in an irregular manner. As always, there are some poetic devices here. So the first one of them is a simile. Can you guess where? Yes, I wandered lonely as a cloud, because here the word as is used, which describes that this line is a simile. The next poetic device here is personification. Can you guess it? Yes, it is fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Why? Because only humans can flutter and dance, because the flowers are not humans. So we are giving them human qualities. This is called personification. Then we have imagery. What is imagery? Well, imagery is when lines are described in such a way that they form an image in your mind. So here, the line of imagery is beside the lake and beneath the trees. We also have a metaphor, because you know that daffodils are usually yellow in color. So describing them as golden would be, yes, it would be a metaphor. Then we have some cases of alliteration. For example, we have all at. So here we have A repeated. And we also have repetition beside here and beneath here. And you have to remember that each poem has a rhyme scheme. And the rhyme scheme of this poem is A, B, C, C. And this will remain same throughout the poem. Please do rewind and write this back in your book because you might need to remember this for your exam. Then we have stanza 2. Continuous as the stars shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The belt of daffodils are compared to the continuity of the stars in the Milky Way. The daffodils shine in the bright sun and flutter in the breeze. Now, if you think this is much similar to the way the stars in the Milky Way shine and twinkle, these daffodils are bordering the lake in a never-ending row because their patch is so long. And the poet exaggerates the number of daffodils he sees and writes that there were thousands of them, which he saw in a single glance. One thing you need to remember here in the last line of the poem is that the top part of the flower, which is referred to as head in the poem, and this top part of the flower is swinging. And to the poet, it seemed that they were dancing with a lot of energy. Next up are poetic devices. So there was another simile here. Can you guess where? Yes, continuous as the stars shine. There is also a hyperbole here. They stretched in a never-ending line. So what is a hyperbole? Well, a hyperbole is a figure, or we can say it is a type of poetic device in which things are over-exaggerated. They are said that, okay, if you see 100 flowers, you will describe them as 10,000 flowers. So you saw the hint I gave there? Yes. First of them is they stretch in a never-ending line, and the second is 10,000 I saw at a glance. Then we have personification. Again, you know what a personification is. And here the personification will be tossing their heads in sprightly dance, because they can't dance and they can't toss their heads because they are not human. And again, the same line also applies for imagery, because when you close your eyes and imagine this line, you can see an image of those daffodils dancing. Awesome. Let's move on to the next one. Now let's go on to stanza 3. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not be but gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Okay, so here the poet writes that the water at the lake was moving and it sparkled in the sunlight, making the atmosphere absolutely delightful. The daffodils, on the other hand, outperformed the waves' dance by swinging happily in the breeze. The poet is comparing the waves' dance to that of the daffodils. In this situation, the poet, who is in this case William Wordsworth, could not help but be happy. So he gazed at the flowers. The word gazed is repeated twice to emphasize how captivated he was. But the poet failed to notice the wealth, and by wealth I mean the pleasant memory that the poet would keep in his mind for a long time. And soon he realized that this memory would be the source of his happiness. Okay, let's move on to poetic devices. Here we don't have a simile, but we do have a personification. So where is it? Well, the waves beside them danced. Of course, waves can't dance either. So this would be our personification. Okay, next we will move on to repetition. Now, can you notice where two words are repeated? Exactly. I gazed and gazed. So we have gazed repeated twice. Then we have alliteration. But be, right? Think about it. But be, two words together. And we have what wealth. So what wealth the shore to me had brought. Okay, cool. Then there is a comparison as a metaphor here, remember, between the waves dance and that of the daffodils. So here we are comparing the waves with the daffodils. So, but here you got to remember that they, oops, sorry, wrong annotation. I will erase that and I will put in they. Perfect. So what does they mean here? They refers to the daffodils. Awesome. Now we are nearing the end of our poem. Stanza 4. For oft on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood. They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Now you must not forget that stanzas 1, 2, and 3 setting is beside the lake near the actual daffodils. But stanza 4 is a little different. It is set at the poet's home. Okay, so let's get to know about this in a bit more detail. Okay, for oft when on my couch I lie. This is an indication of a sad instant or a depressing situation which is affecting the poet's mood. Now you have to remember oft, again, Old English, and it says often. Oft, often. You can see the similarity. Now, whenever the poet is in a depressing situation, the daffodils, and you got to remember that these daffodils are his everlasting memory. He always remembers them. And because they are a memory, they flash in his inner eye. Now, inner eye means imagination. And when he sees these beautiful daffodils, they always manage to cheer him up. This tells us that the daffodils are a bliss of loneliness. You do remember I told you in the first stanza, solitary? Yes, that word in a different way we can say solitude, meaning alone or lonely. Again, we have vacant and pensive, two new words. Vacant means the feeling of being uninterested, and pensive means in deep thought. After that, his heart is filled with joy. And what does he do? Well, he describes that his heart fills with pleasure and dances with the daffodils. This changes his mood and makes him more productive. Okay, so we have many, poetic devices in this one. First, we have imagery. They flash upon that inward eye. So you can imagine this. You can imagine yourself imagining the daffodils. Haha, that was a good one. Then we have personification. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Again, we have dances and our heart can't dance, our body can, but our heart can't. So I think William Wordsworth really loves the word dance because the waves dance, the daffodils dance, and now his heart dances. Okay, then we have a very new poetic device, an anaphora. So what is anaphora, anaphora? Well, anaphora is the repetition of words or phrases in a group of sentences, clauses, or poetic lines. So can you guess where this is? Okay, the first one we have is and over here. And the second one is another A over here in and then my heart with pleasure fills A and dances with the daffodils. Wonderful. So now we have completed our poem. Thank you all for watching this video till the end. Please do like, share and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to know when I add a new video. Of course, visit my blog to increase your knowledge. Bye. Cipher Sam signing off.